It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnet Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
And welcome back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Freeman Michaels here with Barnet Bain and our incredible guest, Gabriel Nossovitch.
Well, before we left for the break, we were about to explore the importance of vision, because once you cut away from the anchors that hold us captive in old stories, once you cut that away, you do have to replace it with something, or we will default back to the old story. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So, how does one go about identifying the other side of choice, the vision piece? How does one go about identifying it and implementing it and becoming practiced and masterful at living into a new set of choices and a new story?
Yeah, for me it has evolved over time. Initially it felt like in order to be able to navigate in this world of stories and not being held back by the stories, there was a question that was always important to ask ourselves, which was, what is it that I really want?
Mm-hmm.
What's my intent at the end of the day, so that I'm not in reaction, I'm actually creating something rather than reacting to something. Over time, now it's evolved to allowing the vision to manifest itself through the space that one provides. But that's, that was years later.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it's not so much about forcing or willing something to be so in the future, but it's more about precisely allowing whatever wants to be released for, and then watching what happens afterwards. Being the space for what wants to happen. So the vision then seems to land on you rather
Mm-hmm.
than it being something that you're actively seeking, looking to create out of your own intentionality with a small e.
Mm-hmm.
It feels
Mm-hmm.
like the small e and the big E come together.
You jumped ahead to what we call third story. The idea that there is actually something that we can discover and be discovered by, and it's a far more generative and it's a fuller, richer thing than having everything be a goal.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That actually, you jumped ahead to a conversation that has been very exciting for Barnet and I about what we call the sacred I don't know. It's
Right.
not I don't know without any sense of ideas. It's
Right.
not without any sense of what fulfillment is. It's actually an opening to something yet undiscovered that we're willing to give ourselves to in a very intentional, very thoughtful way.
Exactly, and that's what this is one of the reasons I love to help people get rid of their stories, because it appears that, to me, what I've seen happen is the more you become aware of the stories and you're willing to release them, or let one way of releasing them is to let whatever experience you didn't want to experience, and that was the reason you made up the story, to actually self-liberate. So you allow, the experience of abandonment, or you allow the anger to manifest through you. You allow the sadness. You allow whatever it is that you're holding. You put a lid on.
And you can allow that in the outer world, or you can more effectively even allow it in the inner world. Your subconscious doesn't make a distinction.
Exactly.
And you don't hurt anybody.
Beautiful. Yes, because that's ultimately, ideally, you just allow yourself to have the fullness of the experience. And what appears to happen is once you fully experience your experience, it disappears. And then there is a spaciousness where the more spacious you are, the more something wants to land on you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a vision, and you're suddenly moved deeply by, doing some good, or some, revealing some truth, or something that it almost chooses you so that it can express itself through you.
There's a piece here. There's a piece here of and I'm going to call it work, and it's actually what we started with, Barnet, moving towards something that we in the past have had so much resistance towards. For my sake, I'll say failure. You know, I've got this big I've got to win thing going on.
Right.
What we call the triumph story. I keep wanting to run my triumph story. And so it does not allow me to fully experience the failure, the
Right.
fear of failure, or the sense of shame that maybe I failed. But in moving towards it, just like we were speaking about, this whole thing sort of opens up, like the world opens up in a particular way.
Right.
And possibilities come in that almost, in essence, choose us. Does that sound like it's in alignment with what you're talking about?
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that because I'm experiencing that in real time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my experience today.
It's the ultimate surrendering.
Yes.
It's surrendering so that, you know, if you want to control or, you know, and resist what wants to happen, then you don't get the fullness of the experience. And then it doesn't allow, it can't complete itself. And it's only in completing itself that you create the space for a new experience to come into being. So you can't, you actually delay the transformative, you actually block the world to form from forming in a beautiful flowing way.
Yeah.
Because you don't let, you know, you're blocking it.
You're incomplete at the level of function before it precipitates into form. You're incomplete at that energetic level of function, and you can complete entirely in that, as we said, in that inner world, in the place of function where you allow the experiences, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings, the choices, the energies to play out fully, making them as real as possible, tasting it, smelling it, responding to it, reacting to it, feeling it in your inner body, feeling it as juicy. Your subconscious loves the detail, however dramatic you can make it, loves the detail, and
then we get to marvel at the
dissipate.
form. And then we get to marvel at the form it takes.
Yes. No, the form takes a surprising turn. Surprising turn. It's discontinuous. It's not even a and then.
Right.
It's
Right.
not linear.
Right.
It's not linear.
It
becomes dream world.
You become present.
And that opens up the door to all kinds of synchronicity and serendipity and all kinds of magic.
Exactly.
And I'm not talking about magical thinking. I'm talking about real magic, the real stuff of the unfolding of possibility that we don't. It's not will. We're not willing it. We're allowing it.
Allowing it, exactly.
Because you're willing it. You're being
willing.
Willing.
Yes.
See, the more we facilitate the completion of whatever experience, whatever wants to happen, the more space we have. You know, I have that experience around certain people. I feel how spacious they are because they have room for other people to be whoever they are.
That's beautiful.
Right? And so the more space we have, and the more space we have, it appears as we expand. The more spacious we become, then suddenly the boundaries of this thinking that we are this encapsulated ego, you know, this, you know, bag of flesh,
skin bag,
just sort of dissolves, and then you start experiencing yourself as that and that and that and that, and so that's when all this serendipity and all this beautiful display starts becoming. You become it, it becomes you, and vice versa, and then it's just there's nothing to nothing needs to be willed.
It's a very generous offer. It's a very generous and generative offer.
Yes.
All right, I'll take one.
I'll take one.
But wait.
Sign Bart up for your next training.
But wait,
front row.
If you act now, you get two realities.
Yeah. No, I mean it is. Sign me up. I mean, I think that the three of us sitting here at one point in time had enough of a tipping, enough of an experience of this where we realized, oh, that's it. I mean, at least I don't want to speak for you guys, but I was, but I'll back off that and say
you can speak for me.
that there was a point where there was sort of no going back to the old stories because I saw the limitations of my world as I had constructed it, and this brave new world off the reservation was so exciting that I had to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I dance.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's
couple
a
steps
dance.
forward,
Well,
few
no,
back,
okay,
couple steps
yeah.
forward,
No, I
few
know
back.
that. Of
Little
course.
to the
Yeah.
left, little back.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
kind of do a do-si-do, but I am definitely moving into some virgin ground. I am definitely making some maps for myself, and I hope for others that I care about, or anyone that's willing to follow. And I am willing to follow maps that I stumble upon, that lead me farther into this unknown territory. But it is definitely a do-si-do.
Mm-hmm.
Can I bring up something? Because, Gabriel, one of the things I admire about you is that you've expanded into many other countries. You speak several languages well enough to train people in other languages, Spanish being the primary one. That's exciting to me. So I'm curious. I don't know how this is being received in Latin America, for example, or in Europe, or in places where you do your trainings. How is it different to bring this to those particular tribes, if you will, those folks? Because they have their story, right?
Right, right. One of the things that I've noticed from the very beginning in training in different places, that the layer of differentiation in terms of the habits and the ways of thinking is not as deep as we think. That if we go 2 or 3 layers down, it's all the same.
Beautiful. Wow.
And that's been very revealing to me, because people respond after you pierce a couple of layers, they respond the same way in South America, in the U.S., in Europe, in all the places where I've been. So on the surface, their reactivity, their reactions, the stuff that they're resistant to, and all that is very different. You know, for instance, in you do a training in Los Angeles, and people are very histrionic.
Right.
And
right.
And
a lot of actors.
You say, okay, now leave your coats and purses to the side, and they just throw them to the side, no problem, and they're just being glamorous, and all they care about is that they're being looked at or whatnot. You do the same training in New York, and you say coats and purses to the side, and people just grab their coats and purses and, are you crazy? What are you talking about? Am I supposed to leave my wallet over there?
Yeah.
So that is very thin.
Yeah.
You pierce that layer, and then what people cry about, what people start revealing, what pains them, what gets them excited is very much the same.
And do you think going to the corporate level, because again, there's its own tribe, if you will,
right.
With rules and expectations and its own story about right and wrong, good and bad.
Right.
Is that the same as well?
Well, I had to walk a very thin line in terms of human resource department's compliance.
Right.
Right.
Right. No, that's right. I imagine that's
and
important
so
as well.
I don't do any kind of visualizations or closed eye processes or things like that. And I just was so surprised that we got as deep or even deeper than with all the other things that we're doing in the general public training.
I feel like people are ready. I mean, I feel personally, in my experience of the world, as it were, that there's a lot of that there's a pushback right now we're experiencing in whatever, Occupy Wall Street, and so much of how business has been done.
Right.
That I think a lot of businesses are ready for a new paradigm.
Even at the HR level. I just did one a few weeks ago with a huge oil company in Canada. HR in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Lot of meditative work, a lot of visualization work.
Yeah, it's shifting.
Lot of vulnerability, lot of sharing, lot of very challenging material, and HR was at the front of it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have seen a shift in the last year, especially with that. There's a lot more acceptance for that. Yeah, because they see the results. I mean, they clearly see how it shifts people's joy and willingness to play harder in life and participate harder in the company and experience fully and go for it. And
creates trust, creates intimacy, creates a sense of community, vision, team. I mean,
frugal vision of the company.
The upside of collaboration versus competition, because again, this is so built on the competition model where everyone's out to win. the collaboration is such a generous offer, and the other is it's a closed system. It's so limited in what it can generate in terms of creativity, and everyone's watching their back or their purse, as it were. How far are you going to get? So I think that again, as we see companies facing what we've been doing no longer works, then again they're more open to, okay, maybe there's another way.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I think that's real because it's coming apart in so many different aspects of the story, the collective story about this is the way of the world, that, okay, it's seeping into...
From the way of the world to our way in the world.
Yes.
Big transition. What is...
It's a nice piece of language. I like that.
You can have it.
I can have it.
It's going to show up in our book.
There you go.
I think actually you already have 50% of it.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about this is what's interesting is that companies have a collective, a story, like a company story.
Right.
That sometimes is a story that gets revealed that gets in the way of them producing the results that they want. And when they get that collectively, when the team gets that they're all being run by one story that actually brought them together because they're all validating their own personal story through the collective story, then giving that up is something that produces results immediately.
Yeah. Brilliance.
And it's great.